that it is. And it should immediately be live on all of the channels. And I'm going to check and make sure that it is. Let me see and make sure. Okay, we will pause. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We apologize. There was a little bit of technical difficulties. So give us a few minutes while we update, and we are going to update the event link as well. Unfortunately, the event did the same thing it did last week, which is it did not update to Facebook correctly. So we just have to update the link there, and we will be right back. Thank you guys for being super patient. We are working on it. I know it's been super frustrating. What happened was it linked to an event in June. So it has linked to the wrong event. Give me one more minute. It is on Facebook Lives on my children's page. So that is where it is, if that's where people are joining or elsewhere. Give me about 2 more minutes. That's where I'm going to send people just so that we can continue on, and then we will continue from there. So give me 1 more minute to figure it out, and then we'll just continue on. So I do apologize. I apologize. I was muted. So I ended up just linking it straight to YouTube. I apologize. I have no idea why it's not linking correctly. I did get it to work. We had figured it all out. We did 2 different tech things, had figured it out, and it still is not linking. It linked, and then it linked to the wrong Facebook page. We checked everything. You can ask Rachel. We checked it twice. And I don't know what happened. So I apologize to everybody that has joined and spent 10 minutes with us, 15 minutes with us trying to figure it out. So I want to introduce Rachel. I'm going to bring her on. So hi, Rachel. Thank you for being here. I'm going to sit back in my chair now. So thank you for being with me all the way from London and being so patient through all the tech changes and all of it. But thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. And don't worry about the tech problems. I've had my fair share of them as well. It's always the way, isn't it? When you need something to happen, all of a sudden the tech just goes, nope.
Yes. And it was so funny because you and I were like, we're going to figure it out and it's going to work. And
We did so many tests. Yeah, it's just.
Yes. And we can't test the live version of it. And so that was, yes. So I apologize for that. But thank you for being here. And I'm super
Thank you so much for
excited.
having me. I'm so excited. It's going to be really cool.
Yes. And I'm excited because it's the end of Mental Health Awareness Month. And I came across your book, and it's about depression, which is like weird to be excited about.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, your book. But your book is, even though it's about depression, it's one of those things where it's not really directly saying, hey, I'm about depression. It's kind of talked about in this way where it really applies to a lot of different things where you're like, oh, is that okay? I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And so it's something really great for a lot of kids and a lot of, honestly, adults too. And so just tell us a little bit, like introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your book and where it comes from and everything.
Yeah, so like you said, my book is kind of based on depression and getting a better understanding of depression. I'm 31 years old now and have struggled with depression probably since I was about 15, so more than half my life. And I think one of the big things that I've realized over the years is that quite often we don't really understand that we're actually dealing with depression, at least not until it gets really bad. And I was sort of thinking about that and thinking about the sort of struggles that I'd been going through. And I realized that I wanted to create something that helped people to understand depression a little bit better and maybe to recognize it a little bit better, and to see how everything kind of operates on a spectrum. You know, you can have sort of general everyday sadness, and you can have when you know, going through something a little harder, and all the way up to sort of fully blown clinically depressed. And I wanted to kind of show the way that I think we can all understand and care for ourselves and our emotions a little bit better if we just know what's going on, and we can have a sort of a framework to understand what's happening. So that's kind of what I tried to do with this book. I've tried to create something that just helps to explain what it feels like when you're dealing with depression.
No, and that's awesome. And I think you really captured that in this book. So that's amazing. And I think coming from somebody that wrote a children's book and without children, why a children's book?
I mean, I'm in the same boat. I also wrote a children's book, even though I don't have my own kids yet. I think I've always loved reading and books and all that kind of stuff. And I went down the road of kind of art director, advertising, creative kind of space, and writing and illustrating was something I always was really interested in. And I think I just remembered reading great books like Roald Dahl books and stuff like that when I was younger, and just thought, I want to do something that just fills people with wonder and enjoyment, but maybe brings them a more serious message underneath it as well.
Perfect. And so just, sorry guys, I have a mouse and that's when I'm sitting here on my lap trying to navigate on my computer that's a little bit further away. So what we are here talking about is Rachel's book, Harriet and the Blue Monkey, and I apologize for stumbling over that. So with that is her book, and I cannot see the pictures. There we go. And you guys, I'm sorry, cannot see this screen today. There we go. So, and that's her book. So, perfect. Well, is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your book?
So it's available now on my website. I'm also kind of trying to get it into schools and places like that. So if anyone knows any schools that would like to have any books on mental health, definitely give me a shout. But yeah, I'm hoping that what I've created will be something that helps people to incorporate mental health habits into their everyday lives, so that we can all just be more comfortable talking about mental health and kind of have a better general understanding of it.
And her website is at the bottom of the screen.
Great.
Perfect.
Oh,
Well, then I think that we are good to start your book if you're ready.
great. Yeah, sure.
Perfect. And I am going to turn my camera and screen off, and we will start with you reading it.
Great. Okay. Let's begin. Harriet is often found climbing high up in a tree, playing with her pets or swimming in the sea. She lives with her mum and dad and her older brother Finn. They sometimes play together, but he never lets her win. At school, she has her best friends, Louise, Lucy, and Faye. They've been friends since they were little. They play every single day. Louise is tall and strong. She's great at running too. One time she won a race without her second shoe. Faye is super clever. She loves to learn new things, like the time she used Mum's tools to fix the playground swings. Lucy's oh so funny, a genuine class clown. She likes to make the grown-ups laugh by hanging upside down. On Monday was a maths test. The questions were so long. Harriet was confused. She got some answers wrong. The best score went to Faye. She's super crazy smart. She showed all her working out and drew a perfect chart. Harriet had an okay score. She understood a lot. She wished she was as good as Faye, but there were some things that she forgot. Harriet's sad feeling was more important than she knew. Leaving bad thoughts to themselves brings other problems too. Suddenly a small blue monkey appeared right by her side, but Harriet barely noticed it as she carried on her stride. On Wednesday, they had sports day, and all the kids took part. It was time for the egg and spoon race. They lined up at the start. Mr. Smith counted 1, 2, 3, and then he bellowed, "Go!" Harriet took off running, but it seemed she was too slow. Louise has such long legs. They're great for running fast. She won the race by miles. Poor Harriet came in last. She was happy for her friend. Please don't get this wrong. She just wished she had a medal too, but her legs are not so long. Another day went by, and now the monkey grew. It clawed and climbed up Harriet's back while turning deeper blue. But still she wouldn't see it, for all its teeth and hair. To Harriet it just seemed as though it wasn't even there. That night she felt a heavy weight as it settled on her head. It felt as though it'd only go if Harriet went to bed. On Friday there was a party, and Faye was turning 10. Lucy had everyone laughing, telling her favourite jokes again. The one about a chicken who was best friends with a cow. Harriet wanted to join in, but she didn't quite know how. Until at last her moment came. They were playing hide and seek. Harriet loves to climb the trees. She could stay up there all week. The other girls were excited. They knew Harriet was the best. They were keen to challenge her and put her hiding to the test. But today something felt different. Harriet didn't want to play. She didn't quite know what was wrong, but she didn't feel okay. Blue Monkey had gotten bigger now. He was looming overhead. His shadow covered everything, a darkness pulling her to bed. She felt so very tired. The monkey dragged her down. She didn't have the energy to take off her dressing gown. She tried her best to smile, but Blue Monkey was so huge. He cut her off from everyone. Harriet didn't know what to do. Then Lucy noticed Harriet was sitting on her own. She went over to sit with her so she wouldn't feel alone. "I have this blue monkey. Have you got a monkey too? My monkey's there when I get sad. His hair is deep sea blue. And when I would stop talking is when my monkey grew. So the way to shrink your monkey is to talk your problems through." The others came to join them as Harriet raised her head. "I don't know where to start. Tell us how you feel," they said. So Harriet started talking about all the things she'd seen, how they were all so good at stuff, much better than she had been. One by one they listened as she told them about her week, and when she finished talking, they took their turns to speak. You may not be the tallest, said Lucy, but you're the best at swimming here. You can hold your breath for ages, longer than anyone in our year. I think you're really kind, said Faye. Do you remember Spike? He was poorly when we found him. You looked after him all night. You're the bravest kid I know. You climb the highest in the trees. I wish I could climb as high as you and not be scared, whispered Louise. You're just as special as anyone else. You've got things that make you you. Lucy gave Harriet a great big hug. We just want you to be happy too. Lots of people have them. They're more common than you'd think. Just remember to talk about how you feel to make your monkey shrink. Some blue monkeys come and go. Sometimes they stay away. But if your blue monkey comes back again, you know not to let him stay. Harriet knew what she was saying. She can control her monkey too. After all, nobody is perfect, but you're perfectly perfect at being you. And then, just so everyone's aware, at the back of the book, we've got a list of questions and conversation topics, which I created with help from a child psychologist that I know and a primary school teacher that I know, just to try and help caregivers, parents, teachers, anyone who might be kind of talking to children or reading this book with kids, to try and get a better understanding of what's going on and start conversations about mental health.
I will say that this is like one of my favorite pages. When I saw this, I was going through this book and I was like, okay, these questions are great. They have just different things they didn't talk about depression directly, but they're great talking points to just talk about, not even necessarily feelings, but to kind of get at some of those questions that look at, how are you feeling? Not necessarily in a way of talking about how are you feeling right now? Oh, I'm good. But they really talk about what's the size of your monkey and showing those pictures and making sure they're talking about them in that critical thinking piece. But I think for so many adults, and not just adults, but kids in general too, it's hard to put those into pictures and into like those concepts into questions and words. And it really breaks them down into easy to talk about sentences and concepts, if that makes sense. I really love the way that these were drafted and put together.
That's great. I'm so glad you really like them. It was really important, I think, to me when I was coming up with these questions to not come at it directly, because I think when we come at questions directly, especially when it comes to things like mental health and feelings, it's really easy to, like you said, either gloss over it and say, yep, I'm fine right now, don't worry about it, or to kind of be overwhelmed and not able to actually verbalize how you're feeling. But when you're just talking about feelings and sort of these things in an abstract concept, I think it's a lot easier to kind of understand that when it's separate from you, and that know that depression is something that exists, that affects different people, but it's not a part of you, it's something that's affecting you, it's a disease basically, and to have that kind of explained to you and then be able to go, okay, so on that I can reflect and say, actually, you know what, this does feel like it applies to me or it relates to me, and actually this gives me a framework to be able to talk about my feelings.
And also, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have depression, but I think everybody can relate with having a little monkey on their back at some point, or having a big monkey on their back at some point.
Yeah. Definitely. I was sort of reluctant to specifically market this book as just for depression, because I think, like you say, we all experience these feelings to some extent, and that, like, just understanding them gives us so much power over them.
Absolutely. And on the last page, I was looking at it, and I guess I didn't realize it the first time I was looking at your book, but the different shades of the blues. And
Was
and
that
how,
this one?
yes, and I know it like connects with your the words of your book and how your like how the monkey grew. Like it definitely is just so part of your story is how big that monkey gets and then how it wraps around her and then how it shrinks, but also just how dark it is and how light it is and how different it is for every single person in this image. Very it's just very well depicted in this
Thanks.
and I love it. So I don't know, it's just something that I noticed and I was like, I have to say that. So.
It was really important when I was writing this, because I think it's really easy when you come into something like mental health and you want to start explaining it to kind of treat it like it's going to be the same for everybody. And obviously we all know everything is experienced differently by different people. So yeah, different styles of monkeys. There's gorillas, there's macaques, there's like little tiny sort of little fluffy monkeys and big orangutans and all sorts. And yeah, kind of being able to show the different things in there. I thought it was really nice to be able to show that everybody has their own unique experience on it. And actually, I don't know if you spotted it, but there's also actually a blue monkey on the back of the dog, because dogs can get depression too.
Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. I guess I knew about it, but I had never really thought about it.
It's just one of the little nuggets I put in there as like little Easter eggs for people who might want to look into it a bit more. But yeah, like I think mainly poodle breeds or more intelligent breeds, but they've been shown to exhibit signs of depression as well. And I thought that was really interesting, the way that it kind of transcends species, and it's not something specifically related to us. But yeah,
that is interesting. I guess like I said, I've seen it or we've heard stories about it. Ones that get really sad or will stay in one place if their human's gone or things like that. But I had never really put the two together.
Yeah,
really thought about it. And coming from somebody who has a service dog, there's definitely a different type of relationship and bond with a handler and a service dog. Yeah. And the amount of reliance to an extent that there is and in that bond and on that dog and almost like connection in that, just because like mine's laying right outside. I mean, almost I can put my hand on him if this door was open.
Yeah.
Because he's a medical scent detection dog. So, or medical alert dog. So he has to be able to smell me at all times. So he won't ever pretty much leave my side. So when we are separated, there's tends to be behavior issues. Just for the reason of like, wait, but I'm supposed to be working. My human's not there. So having other things like separation from humans, I mean, we've all heard of separation anxiety leading to honestly behavior issues, like destroying things. So depression and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, it's interesting, definitely. And yeah, I can see how it can be like differently experienced, I guess, when you're talking about a service dog versus a regular pet. But yeah. One of the things that I thought was interesting that I kind of wanted to bring up as well, just going back through the book and reading it again, was I liked focusing on self-comparison. So when we're going through the story and we're kind of learning about all of the things that Harriet's friends are really good at, and we're seeing her compare herself to everybody else, I really wanted to try and sort of show the destructive nature of that kind of behavior, because that's certainly something that I've struggled a lot with over the years. And I know that a lot of other people do as well, especially when we're living in this social media environment and all you see all the time is how well everybody else is doing and like all of the achievements and great things that are happening to everybody else. It can be really easy to forget about the things that are going well for you. So I think that's another really important thing to sort of keep an eye on that I wanted to bring up in the book.
Yes. And I know from my side, because I typically focus on chronic illness and that's something I live with, it's also comparing yourself to other people that have that same disorder.
Yeah.
So whether it's somebody that is more severe, but I'm not as bad, or it's other people putting you in that category. So, well, you're not as bad as them. So why can't you, whatever that is? Or, well, I'm not as bad as it could be. So I should be able to do this.
Definitely.
Or on the other side of that is, well, but I could have that. Or, well, be glad that you don't have this because it could be worse. And so, again, like you said, it being almost self-destructive to be
Definitely.
in that. So, um,
it's really interesting when you were talking just then. There's so many of those sayings and the phrases that you were coming out with. I was like, I've with my therapist gone over this multiple times, talking about like the idea of should be doing something and how should is like a bad word for me, because I'm always using it as an opportunity to tell myself that I'm not doing enough. And I think that's what so many of us do. Like you said, when I'm not as bad as this person, therefore I should be able to do that. And it's so easy to get wrapped up in that idea, isn't it? Of just like, I should be doing more than this and I should be coping. And there's all these things that I think should be how my life is. But actually, when you look at realistically yourself and your resources and your situation, it's not right now. And that's why you can't do it right now. But we forget that.
yeah, it's just one of those things too, where life is one of those, it's always changing. And one thing I've noticed, whether it's mental health or it's chronic illness or it's just honestly life, you can have good days and you can have bad days. And a bad day doesn't mean you're not going to have good days, and good days doesn't mean that there's never going to be a bad day. And so just because you have a bad day, I saw one of your posts from one of your cards, which is like, it's okay to go make a pillow fort. And yes, yes, it is. Like,
Definitely.
I'm going to go make a pillow fort right now. Like, that sounds amazing. And in my head, I just pictured like pillows and then s'mores. I was like, I love s'mores, but like now I want s'mores. And I'm like, pillow fort, s'mores. Yes, please. Like, yes.
I mean, it's a great place to be. I got into a really bad habit of making s'mores just occasionally on the gas hob in the kitchen. I would just melt a marshmallow and then stick it between two biscuits and go and eat it as an afternoon snack. And I was like, this is really not a healthy attitude, healthy behavior that I need to.
I mean,
it was like once in a while is okay, but maybe not every single afternoon. That was a bit much.
It depends. Why not?
It was good. It was very good.
I will not say that I have not done something similar. How about that? But no, and I think, and that's why I love your book and I love everything about it. And so, I don't, honestly, I haven't been looking at the chat, or anything else. So I don't know if anybody has questions, but I will put your website up one more time for, I believe that's it. No, I can't see the chat or the box. Nope, sorry, wrong one. Okay, there we go. So there is her website. So it's unblue.uk or .co.uk, for her book, and she does ship to the US and pretty much everywhere.
Pretty much, almost everywhere. If I don't, then just email me and I'll figure it out.
Yes, I feel like that's kind of what we've been doing. That's like, ship, we'll figure it out. We don't know how much it costs yet to ship to you, but we will figure it out. So that is her website if you are interested in her book. I believe it's available in paperback only at this time.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have ebooks available if people are interested, or not at this time?
Not yet, but it's something I'm working on. I'm trying to make a slightly interactive digital version of the book. So Eventually, yeah. I'll let people know if you're interested in anything like that, like keeping up to with updates on the digital book or on anything else that I'm doing, because I actually produce other products alongside the book, like mental health greetings cards. Just sign up to my email list on my Facebook or my website, and you can follow all of my updates on there, and I'll let you know anytime anything changes. And I'm also bad at social media, so you won't be inundated with posts, because I'm definitely not posting as much as I should be, but we'll get there.
Well, yes, I feel like I'm right there with you, where I either post or I don't. So,
Yep.
well, then, thank you so much, Rachel. And again, I apologize for the technical difficulties, everybody, and I will try and figure out why they are not working for next week. But next month is Visual Impairment Month. So we have a couple of great guests coming that are, one is going to be talking about service dogs that are guide dogs and her experience going through getting her guide dog. And one is going to be talking about video books and changing picture books into video books. And then one is going to be reading her books, which has a blind main character. So I'm super excited about June.
Great.
But we will work out the technical difficulties before then, which is what your book actually streamed to. So in order to stop it, I actually had to cancel the June event. So the June event no longer exists on Facebook. And all of that got canceled with everybody that was attending it. So I have to now reschedule that. So I apologize to everybody. We will fix it and figure it out. I promise. And that is the new streaming platform. So
thank you so much for having me.
So, thank you everybody for attending, and who's interested, subscribe for more videos in the future, and they will get better at streaming, I promise.